So over the last few months, I've noticed this alarming trend develop, and I ignored it at first because it was coming from people like Anita Sarkeesian. I mean, this is a person I didn't want to give the time of day to, but then I noticed the same calls coming from people like Joaquin Phoenix. Let's grant universal clemency to prisoners, because, hey, after all these terrible things are going on in jails, they're being impacted. Now, I don't consider myself particularly unreasonable and stuff, and in X case or Y situation, I can say, okay, I understand that. Yeah, let's do something about it. The problem is that isn't good enough for some of the people talking about it. And well, the inevitable transpires, like you see in front of you. A person gets released, they get rearrested, and the thing that they do is horrible. But hey, we're looking out for their safety, right? So hey there, so today we return to that wonderful world of what the heck do these people think they're doing, starring people that apparently don't have to live in the same world as you or I. See, as is, I already think that about a certain personality out there anyhow. I mean, Anita Sarkeesian, for example, I think we disagree on what reality is. But when they make proclamations about things like why hasn't America released everyone in prisons, I think, wow, how out of touch are you? See, when I think about the standard bearers for this type of conversation, the hypocrisy to it is astounding. These are the same type of people that would involve the FBI in a video game conversation and want to criminalize quote-unquote hate speech and quote-unquote ists and phobes online, but they want to release everyone from jail. I mean, isn't that astounding? That's why normally I would ignore something like this, because a person like Anita Sarkeesian, they don't have a lot of social credibility. They may have a lot of credibility on Twitter, but that doesn't relate to the real world. But when you see people like Joaquin Phoenix joining the fray, yeah, we got a problem in here. So bounding into comics, they captured this first portion. This was something I ignored when it came up, so I want to make sure that I hit this. And props to bounding into comics too, because they cover a lot of things that they have taken lumps for. I mean, they used to get comps from Marvel Comics, for example, and yeah, they don't get them anymore because Marvel didn't like the fact that they talked about their employees. But Anita Sarkeesian, she decided to ask on Twitter recently, why hasn't America released everyone in prisons? Now, they showcase in this article, too, why exactly I don't want to give someone like this very much attention and why I ignored this completely when it first came up. Because you see, Mandalorian, it's a new hot take. Got to jump on it. Got to get attention for it. Then you see people like Ninja in there. Hey, got to get a hot take for Ninja, too, because it's a new trending name. Got to throw that out. Hey, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Got to throw myself into that situation, even though I don't know anything about it. Because, hey, why not? But when you see stuff like this, and you see the social backdrop that we're seeing utilized as a blanket for these type of statements, I think that they're worth calling out. And especially, again, when you see other people joining in, which we'll get to Joaquin Phoenix in just a minute. But her statement was, why hasn't America frozen rents and mortgages? Okay. Now, certain places have by now. They even were at the time. But okay, why hasn't the entirety of America? Why hasn't America nationalized its entire health services? Man, we need to work over the whole system right this second because, current social situations. Why hasn't America issued a shelter in place for the whole nation? You'll notice I skipped one there. Okay, those three statements by themselves, you could argue. But then, why hasn't America released everyone in prisons? Everyone. You notice that statement there. Why don't we let every terrible person out of prison? Because you know what? They absolutely deserve to be let loose on the streets. You think that people are ists and phobes because they play video games and say mean things online? What do you think is in the prison system? Do you think those people out there are all nice and on? But hey, now's a good time to read up on alternatives to capitalism. So they know that she wasn't the only person that was advocating for alternatives to capitalism during this. It seemed to be a trending topic among celebrities. You had Fran Drescher. I know so many many people, too, were like, man, I'm going to take my political advice from Fran Drescher. But you see, like Anita Sarkeesian got over 11,000 likes on that. You have Fran Drescher getting about 43,000 on it. I agree here. Capitalism has become another word for ruling class elite. When profit is at the expense of all things of true value, we got a problem. I wonder how much money you made from that celebrity, by the way. I wonder if you and we live the same life, because I am absolutely sure we don't. Mark Ruffalo, man, he might as well insert foot in mouth half the time, but he has this kind of statement. It's time for an economic revolution. And remember, they're using the backdrop of what's happening right now to talk about this stuff. Capitalism today is failing us. It's killing us. It's robbing from our children's future. Fun times, huh? Fun times there. And there's so much of that. I mean, you've already had Mark Ruffalo, talking about that stuff before. But then, as far as the prison thing goes, you have other actors that start getting involved. You have Joker actor Joaquin Phoenix calling for New York's governor to grant clemency for prisoners. Now, with clemency, I'm sure, again, we could have a discussion over that. But you see these statements that are coming out. All prisoners need to be released. We need to get rid of everybody out there because, hey, so he puts out a video. I would showcase the entirety of that video, but you know how these platforms get. So I'm just going to read you a few statements in it, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So the spread of social situation, we'll call it, in prisons threatens the health and safety of us all. When you are incarcerated, there is no such thing as social distancing, and assuring good hygiene is not an option. Leaders must do everything possible to prevent incarcerated people and those who work in prisons from becoming ill and spreading this thing. And I agree with those statements. Hey, this stuff, it threatens the health and safety of people. You have a lot of problems controlling it in that kind of setup, and we need to do everything possible to ensure that people working there and the people that are incarcerated are preventing this kind of spread. We need to do something. Then he calls on the governor there to grant clemency to New Yorkers in prisons. He says the lives of so many people depend on this action. No one deserves to die in prison because of this. Now they note, according to Cornell Law School, executive clemency is the power of a president or governor to pardon a person convicted of crime or commute or shorten the sentence of those served. The New York Post reported that Governor Cuomo had previously released 1,100 low-level parole violators due to the spread of this thing. Now, the problem with these wonderful advocates out there is that they ignore headlines like this. They actually ignore the gravity of what they're talking about, period. But they ignore things like this, too. So, man released from Florida jail amidst those social concerns is arrested on a murder charge. This is the guy, too. Man, that facial tattoo between the eyes, that cannot feel good. I mean, the other ones don't look fun there. Oh, right below the eye, but man, that does not look fun. So this guy, 26 years old, he's back in jail a day after he was released. A day after he was released. He was originally arrested on March 13 for possession of, you can see those, he's going to be arrested for that again, by the way, so he'll be right back a day after. He was one of 100 inmates that had been released on March 19th to curb the spread of this in detention centers and to protect inmates and staff. Fun times. Unfortunately, the rest of us aren't protected. There's no question that this guy took advantage of the healthcare emergency to commit crimes while he was out of jail awaiting resolution of a low-level nonviolent offense. Every murder, every violent crime, especially those involving a gun, is a sickening example of the worst in our community, especially at a time when our community is working relentlessly to fight the spread of this thing. Now, what's interesting is they tell you about how this comes together, too. So on the 20th, again, one day after it, police investigated reports of gunshots in a Tampa neighborhood and found a man who was pronounced dead at the scene. This guy, he ends up arrested there. In addition to the second-degree charge there, he's facing new charges, including resisting an officer, felon in possession of a firearm, and possession of the same things that he had before. So why hasn't America released everyone in prisons? Maybe because some people deserve to be there. Smart takes, smart takes indeed. The problem with this stuff is that it isn't just a statement online. These people, they can make these ideas manifest because they are preying on our fear during this current social situation. That's a horrible thing too, because these folks, they don't think about the reality of this. And like I said, the reality of this, it impacts us all. But anyway, you leave me your thoughts on it. Let me say too, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you making this endeavor possible. Without you, it doesn't work. Not enough people say that. So I want to thank you. I don't want to monopolize your time either while I'm thanking you, but I do want to say, if you like this content, you like the channel, subscribe to it, share videos. You know that drill by now, and leave me your thoughts too. But anyway, thank you for showing up. I do appreciate you. And yeah, check out the videos later. We always have a couple. So thanks.